Did you think the silence in Vartal was the end? Think again. Aru Kael didn't die, he was reborn. Alliances break, monsters laugh in the shadows, and KaerDuun pulses with living fury. Who hunts whom? Stay until the end, or the abyss swallows you. Chapter 6: Fragile Alliances. Dawn painted the sky in shades KaerDuun had never shown before. Clouds formed green and black spirals, pulsing like open wounds. Metallic fragments floated in the air like magnetized ash. Rentor watched it all from the slope, body wounded, eyes hollow. The planet seemed to breathe differently, and he knew why. Aru Kael was no longer the same. The stranger among the living. The last Zorathians camped in the ship's ruins, fixing what they could with the reactor's remaining energy. Of the 28 who had begun the mission, 3 remained. They no longer spoke loudly. The wind now carried strange noises, pops, distant laughter, imitations of human voices. The very sound of the world seemed alive. Rentor was wiping his helmet visor when he felt it. His presence. Aru emerged from the mist without a sound. Skin covered by a faint glow, veins pulsing with a mineral blue. The captain stepped forward, weapon raised. "Stay where you are, hunter." Aru didn't move. "You can't kill me, and you don't want to." "Why would you say that?" "Because the planet is still watching you. And it knows it needs me to survive." There was something in Aru's voice, a deeper timbre, an echo that wasn't only his. Tension rose, even the air seemed to vibrate. Blazes, the remaining scientist, watched from a distance, whispering. "His electromagnetic field, it's growing. He's linked to the planet's core." The silence that followed was broken only by a drop of blood falling from Aru's chin and burnin'. The ground. The enemy of my enemy. 4 days, the survivors tried to understand what was happening. Rentor proposed an alliance to Aru. "You have something the VorrKash doesn't, Will. And maybe, just maybe, the planet chose you for that." But no one trusted anyone. Sensors picked up movement in the jungle, heat trails that sometimes belonged to the VorrKash, sometimes to something even greater. Aru felt every step. "She's closer. And laughing at us." OSS pushed a theory that scared everyone. The VorrKash doesn't even need to hunt anymore. It's letting you tear each other apart. Paranoia set in. One soldier snapped during the night, claiming he'd seen Aru's face reflected in the creature's eyes. Before dying, he murmured, "Sam." The blood, same stare. Echoes of mistrust. Tensions mounted. Aru hunted alone, vanishing for days into the crystal forests. Each time he returned, he brought back pieces of bodies, sometimes from the monster, sometimes from missing soldiers. He said they were trophies, proof of victory. But the marks on his body, the claws on his wrists, and eyes glowing in the dark betrayed another truth. He was changing. One night, Daz followed him into the valley. She saw him kneel before a mineral column, speaking softly. The rocks answered with vibrations as if breathing with him. Light on Aru's skin pulsed in sync with the Earth's heart. Bless stepped back, terrified. He's talking to the planet. When she returned to camp, no one believed her. But the cameras didn't lie. For an instant, the entire valley had gravitated around him. Invisible chains. Next morning, the survivors woke with burned marks on their skin, symbols identical to the ship's runes and the creature's DNA. Rentor snapped when he realized the pattern formed a map of KaerDuun's heart, the place where the VorrKash had been reborn. "She marked us," Aru said, calmly studying the symbols. "Or maybe, this came from me." Rentor spun his weapon. "You're a risk. If the planet is using you as a host, you might be the new guardian, or the new destroyer." Aru met his gaze with metallic eyes, half human, half reflective. A thin voice cut through their exchange, soft, feminine, bodiless. "Aru, what kills monsters becomes one too." Silence. Rentor, hesitant, lowered the gun. OSS began to cry. And from atop the slope, something watched. The VorrKash, motionless, just observing as if waiting for the outcome. The threshold. At night, as winds blew in waves that sounded like voices, Aru stared at the horizon. The ship's glow seemed smaller. Everything around him hung in balance: chaos and silence, light and shadow, life and abyss. Inside, doubt grew. Was he changing to destroy the creature, or to replace it? His body pulsed with Kaer'Duun's rhythm, and his mind heard echoes from places he had never seen. Maybe he was becoming part of the planet, or something beyond it. The last sentence he spoke that night was simple, yet heavy with omen. If hunter and monster are made of the same blood, who kills whom in the end? When the fires went out, neither the survivors nor the audience knew who the real threat was anymore. Aru slept with his eyes open, and in his dreams, the planet breathed with him. Chapter 7. The Trap in the Wind. The wind always blew from the north on Kaer'Duun. But that night, it came from all sides, a gale smelling of ozone and death. Distant mountains roared, and the air trembled as if something immense wanted to break free from the soil. It was the eve of the final hunt. It was the last chance before the apocalypse. The survivors' camp rose at the edge of the valley's heart, a massive fissure-breathing blue vapor. The sound emerging from it was constant, like a sick heart struggling to stay alive. Aru, Rentor, and us knew that's where the creature would go. The planet called it back. And they had one chance to stop. The plan of the last dawn. Rentor laid out the plan with the desperate precision of someone already accepting death. Gravitational field traps inside the fissure, biotic lures scattered through the forest, and Aru Kael as the main bait. "It wants you," Rentor said. "It's drawn to your presence. The monster fears me, but it desires you." Aru didn't respond. Every word from the captain was just confirmation of what he already felt. The bond between him and the VorrKash was complete. In dreams, he saw through the creature's eyes, felt its hunger, the pulse of black veins running through the world. And sometimes, he saw himself in its memories, as if they were swapping souls. Us watched him from afar, scribbling frantically on a broken tablet. She whispered, "If he dies, maybe the planet dies with him. But if he survives, what will he become?" No one answered. The wind screamed F. Or the dead. Echoes of madness. As twilight fell, the forest began to move. Not the wind, the trees. Crystals dangled from roots, swaying in syncope, emitting harmonic sounds like distorted bells. The air crackled with static energy. Ground stones trembled, conducting electricity underfoot. Aru sat alone, eyes fixed on the red sky. The scent of approaching rain mixed with another odor, scorched ozone, the same from the ship's carcass. On the horizon, lightning danced horizontally, illuminating silhouettes of destruction. He closed his eyes. Heard voices. Lyris Tormix Tus. All calling him. All whispering something that seemed to fade. "She is you." Aru opened his eyes. For an instant, he saw his reflection in the crystals ahead, but what stared back wasn't human. Pupils seemed cracked, and the bluish glow spread through. His veins like rivers. The storm begins. The VorrKash arrived with the night. Not as a beast, but as a presence. The wind stopped, and air pressure rose so much lungs burned. Us watched the radar. The monster's signal appeared everywhere. "The field is collapsing," she screamed. Multiple readings, or, "It's one mirrored mind." Then came the sound. An impossible roar, seeming to come from inside the body, not the ears. Fissure walls shook. The sky bled purple light. Rentor triggered the gravitational charges. Magnetic darts fused to the ground, activating the field. For 5 seconds, everything seemed to work. Then the lights died. The VorrKash was inside the defenses, not outside. "Impossible," As murmured. "No," Aru said, raising his spear. "It's what she wanted. Supremacy." From the valley fog, the creature emerged, a colossal hybrid, now covered in mineral veins, eyes glowing on its back, irregular breathing, like an organism shared with the planet. It looked at Aru and for an instant, seemed to hesitate. Rentor aimed the gravity cannon, shouting, "Do what you have to." Aru walked to the crater's center, fearless. Each step made the ground vibrate around him. Light and wind swirled as if the world revolved around him. Suddenly, the creature spoke, with a human voice. Aru, you are my continuation. The silence lasted what felt like eternity. Not even the wind dared blow. Isis wept quietly, Rentor aimed, trembling. Aru raised his spear, but the glow in his arms matched the creature's glow exactly. It took a step, and the planet trembled with it. The gravitational field engulfed them. Two bodies, a man and a starborn being, locked in the same whirlwind. A lone sea, Endel resisting the wind at the world's end. The world's collapse. Explosion. Silence. Then, the universe's saddest sound, the wind blowing again. When the storm ended, the valley was just ruins. Shattered crystals, evaporated rivers, cracked mountains. Rentor, burned and near death, crawled to the center. No sign of the monster. Nor of Aru. Only the spear, broken in two. And a glowing mark on the ground. The Thalnari symbol linked to the Zorathian sigil. Human and alien. Hunter and prey. Light and shadow. Isis fell to her knees, staring at the horizon. If Aru destroyed the monster, then who does the planet's heart belong to now? No answer came. Only a cold breeze rising from the fissure, whispering words that froze her blood. The hunt never ends. Did Aru defeat the monster, or become one? Chapter 8. The Spirit of the Storm. Silence. For long minutes, perhaps hours, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The wind vanished. The stars disappeared. KaerDuun's own light went out, leaving only the distant echo of thunder. And then, from the center of the destroyed valley, life began to stir again. Tree ashes formed slow whirlwinds over the cracked ground. Rocks floated inches above the soil, as if gravity hesitated to return. Everything was static, and yet, pulsing. Isis woke with her mouth full of dust and body burning. She didn't remember how she'd survived. The air tasted of iron and old rain. On the horizon, columns of light rose to the sky, spiraling like luminous veins. And in the central glow, something was there. The return. What remained of the team watched in silence. A figure rose slowly from the ashes, Aru Kael, or what was left of him. His body was partially covered in translucent crystal fragments, his face a mix of flesh and mineral. From his chest emanated a constant bluish light. With each step, the ground trembled faintly, not from impact, but as if the planet itself recognized him. Isis wept, unsure if from joy or fear. He lives. Rentor, still lying down, smiled faintly. No, he was reborn. Aru lifted his eyes to the sky, a veil of black clouds and liquid lightning. Wind rose in a whirlwind around him, forming a halo of dust and blue fire. The voice escaping his mouth didn't sound human, nor fully alive. She is gone. But part of her breathes in me. The conversion. Rentor, wounded and gripped by doubt, spoke choking. Did you destroy her, or become her? Aru closed his eyes. The wind stopped again, and the surrounding mountains responded, echoing his silence. Then he simply said, "There is no difference." The sound of those words spread like thunder. With each syllable, the horizon light wavered, as if KaerDuun absorbed his emotions. Blue flames rose from craters, and for an instant, the air smelled of dead sea and storm. Isis grabbed his arm. The skin was cold, dull, almost metallic. In his eyes, something pulsed, the reflection of the same core from the creature he'd destroyed. It was as if predator and human now shared the same heart. She tried pulling back, frightened. Aru held her gently, but his voice rang in two tones. His and something beyond. VorrKash wasn't just death. It was balance. Hunger against creation. Now that balance lives in me. The living storm. Suddenly, the sky erupted in fury. Thunder like torn veins ripped the atmosphere, drawing the entire planet's map in the air. Rain fell, a luminous rain that didn't burn but purified and corroded at once. Aru raised his arms. Lightning struck and passed through him without killing. His body reacted to the bolt as if absorbing it. With each discharge, the creature's memories mixed with his galactic war, destroyed worlds, blood of the innocent. And with it, visions of the lost village, faces he could never forget. Torment. The wind roared and he roared with it. The scream wasn't human. It was the voice of the earth, the planet, the ancient things sleeping beneath the soil. If another monster comes, let it come. If another god descends, let it descend. I will be the storm that swallows them. Atop the ruins, LSS and Rentor watched with reverent terror. Wind tore their clothes, force knocked them down, and still, they couldn't look away from the man who had become a living force of nature. The final doubt. When the storm ceased, Aru stood in the silence. Glowing droplets evaporated before touching the ground. The air was too clean, too light. LYSS approached. The planet, is it saved? He didn't answer. He just looked to the horizon. What he saw froze his blood. In the sky above the mountains, a distant golden glow opened, not a star, but something greater. The shape of a Zorathian mothership emerged among the clouds. They were coming back. And this time, they knew the planet harbored something new. Something hybrid. Something without boundaries between creation and destruction. OSS stepped back. He will come hunt you. Aru smiled, serene. Then it will be a good hunt. And as the first bolt of the next storm crossed the firmament, he vanished, dissolving into particles of light, as if the wind carried him. They say that since then, when storms cross KaerDuun, it's possible to hear his voice amid the thunder. I am the echo between worlds. I am the fury that protects peace. Chapter 9, The Final Confrontation. The silence following Aru's disappearance was brief. From high in the atmosphere, the roar of the Zorathian mothership's reactors tore the skies like an open wound. The entire planet reacted, hills pulsed, rivers boiled, and mountains began emitting deep sounds like war drums. KaerDuun was awakening, and it was no longer alone. Shadows that return. LSS and Rentor watched the fleet's arrival from afar. Over 20 ships pierced the black clouds, aligned like celestial blades, reflecting the storm's blue. They flew to the explosion site, the former valley's heart, where sensors detected a living entity with an energy signature incompatible with any known record. It's him, Uz whispered. Or, what remains of him? The fleet opened fire before making contact. Light beams sliced the sky, striking the ground at precise points, melting kilometers of rock. But before the third volley launched, what lay in the valley rose, a humanoid shadow, wrapped in energy whirlwinds. Aru Kael, the spirit of the storm. In his eyes, a living glow, the same from the creature he'd destroyed, now ignited within him. Thunder exploded, and the wind split in two directions. For the first time, the Zorathians felt fear of something they'd held. Create. The celestial offensive. The assault began under plasma rain. Drones fell from the sky like metallic insects, firing beams that made the ground writhe. LSS ran through craters, trying to reach a manual transmitter to stop the fire, but magnetic waves disoriented everything. All of KaerDuun seemed to scream. Aru moved across the field like something between flesh and pure energy. Each step created shockwaves. Gravitational bombs colliding against him, reversed force and tore the air upward. Storms he himself generated devoured laser shots, returning them in twisted light spirals. The Zorathians activated the final protocol, Eclipse, an orbital weapon built to destroy entire moons. At the mothership's core, Rentor ordered the shot but hesitated. Sensors showed two signatures, the monster's and Aru's, identical, merged. If I fire, we kill both, OSS asked. No, he replied softly. We kill everything. The call of shadows. As the fleet prepared, Aru walked through the chaos. Blue flames licked his body and ricocheted as if the air itself protected him. But inside him, there was a voice. The voice that hadn't left since the confrontation. The stars want to erase you, but the planet wants you whole. Shut up, he whispered, breathless. Accept it. You are the balance. The monster and the man. He staggered, kneeling. Tears of blood fell from his eyes, mixing with the rain. For an instant, the audience sees two realities coexisting. In one, Aru still fights as a man, the protector of Artal. In the other, the VorrKash reborn through him, Pure rage, living energy. Scene lighting alternates between blue and red, symbolizing the inner spiritual struggle. The entire planet vibrates. The forest reacts with light pulses in sync with his heartbeat. Isis watches from afar, and barely recognizes the human face anymore. He's no longer just a man. The wrath of gods. A flash ruptured the sky, the eclipse shot. A dense golden beam piercing the atmosphere, descending like a pillar of final judgment. Rentor screamed, run! But it was too late. Aru raised his hands to the sky. And something unbelievable happened. The beam struck the planet, and stopped. Air froze at impact. The explosion meant to destroy a whole moon hung suspended, motionless, trapped in a wind bubble. Time folded. Sound vanished. The planet reacted. Crystals rose forming columns around the valley, and each pulsed like a living organ. The beam was reabsorbed, transforming into a global storm. In space, the fleet began crumbling. The planet's gravitational field grew exponentially, dragging even the ship's thrust. Eclipse failed. But victory carried no glory. Aru staggered, each breath tearing his FLE.SH, body splitting between light and dust. Death and rebirth. OSS ran to him. The whole world moved in slow motion. Energy cracks, blue vapor rising from the ground, inverted lightning climbing from earth to sky. When she reached him, he had no expression left. Skin nearly transparent. Inside, the heart visible, a spiraling blue crystal pulsing. The planet is saved? Nothing is saved, he replied. Everything transforms. She wept. So this is your death? Or something worse? The VorrKash was never the enemy. It was the mirror. Wind screamed around them. The ground split open. Ru looked to the sky. Tell them, Kaer'Duun never needed gods. Only guardians. The earth collapsed. Flash swallow. At everything. A second sun pierced the world's heart. Echo of the end. Days later, under a new dawn, Isis awoke amid ruins and silence. The atmosphere was clear, clouds golden. No sign of ships, no bodies, no sound. Only a gentle breeze carrying echoes of voices. At the valley's center, electric blue flowers sprouted from scorched soil. And among them, a shape etched the ground, the perfect silhouette of a man with arms outstretched, petrified, but serene. Light still pulsed in his chest. Kaer'Duun breathed. And the wind whispered eternally. The hunter found the abyss. And the abyss remembered to hunt. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Artal. Time on Kaer'Duun began to flow again. Days turned to seasons, the planet slowly reborn under the bluish mantle of a new sun. The valley's wounds scarred over, and the wind, once laden with screams, now whispered ancient songs, as if telling a story the heavens would never forget. The surviving Thalnari rebuilt Vartal, now surrounded by living crystals that glow when the sky darkens. They called that phenomenon Aru's pulse. They said his spirit guided the winds, that rains obeyed his fury. And when storms roared too fiercely, the elders simply said, "The guardian awakens." Kaer'Duun is still being watched. But what the people didn't know, and what the universe would soon discover, is that Aru still Brea. The body of the silent god. Beneath the valley's crystalline crust, the planet's energy concentrated. There rested Aru Kael's body, half mineral, half man, trapped between dimensions. Some said he was dead. Others, that he had become part of the planet's consciousness. But beneath those layers, something stirred. Energy veins lit up slowly. The sound of heartbeats pierced the rocks, and within each one, a vision. Stars, ships, distant. Kaer'Duun hadn't imprisoned him. Ru was being called the trophy of the gods. At the stellar system's edge, where the void grows coldest, a lone ship wandered. Its beacons cut the blackness, and inside, the metallic clank of chains echoed. On a translucent table lay a human figure, body restrained by tubes and straps pulsing green light. It was Aru Kael. Around him, tall beings with pale masks observed like studying an ancient artwork. His chamber bore an inscription in alien tongue. Trophy 07, the warrior of Kaer'Duun. extracted from the planetary core after gravitational collapse. Entity partially alive. Energy, indeterminate. One creature leaned over the body. He still breathes, it murmured in a metallic hiss. The other smiled. Then we'll make him a true god. Lights flickered. Aru's body trembled. And his eyes opened, slowly, glowing blue like storms trapped in glass. In the reflection, the creature recoiled. For an ephemeral instant, Aru and the being shared the same nightmare. The memory of VorrKash, alive ins. Eyed him. Terror returned. The awakening of the exile. The ship crossed deep space when it began to vibrate. Alarms blared in every possible language, anomalous energy in the main sector. Internal cameras captured the impossible. Metallic walls around Aru's chamber lived again. Kaer'Duun's spirit had awakened through him, and where there was once prison, now storm raged. Aru broke the shackles with bare hands. No noise, just the dry crack of iron dissolving. The planet's voice echoed in his mind. Home calls you, guardian. But the void has its own monsters. Outside, the ship collectors, known across galaxies as the flesh cartographers, realized too late. Energy replicated, consuming systems and reshaping the ship's metal into organic fractals. Through the windows, Aru saw infinity opening, ivory nebulae, stars devouring whole planets, and eyes. Eyes watching from nameless places. He understood then what VorrKash had tried to say. The true war was never on Kaer'Duun, but among gods themselves and the creatures ending to control the universe. Echoes of the next storm. As chaos swallowed the corridors, Aru rose amid the flames. Metal particles and dust floated around him, reflecting his image multiplied to infinity. At the cabin center, a portal formed, not of technology, but pure consciousness. The planet called him back. But beyond the portal, another energy awaited, ancient, hungry, laughing. Soundless thunder echoed in space. Aru looked through the porthole one last time, seeing stars leap like sparks. His gaze filled with determination and fear, a perfect mix for one who learned heroes die, but guardians are reborn. If I'm still human, I'll return home. If not, let the universe remember my name. He stepped into the store. Darkness. Then absolute silence. And, of course not. The battle has just begun. Aru Kael will face an even worse fight. Don't miss Aru Kael's next adventure. Aru Kael 2, Echoes of the Void. If this saga gave you chills, like now, subscribe for more epic sci-fi, and watch thrilling new stories. Comment, would you face the VorrKash? Thanks for the journey, see you in the next Shadow of the Stars.